Ricky Pearsall. On the night of September 1st, 2024, San Francisco 49ers rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall's life nearly ended before his NFL career truly began. While out in San Francisco, Pearsall was caught in an attempted robbery that quickly turned violent. A gunman opened fire and Pearsall was struck in the shoulder, collapsing in shock as bystanders scrambled for cover. Police later confirmed that the suspect was a juvenile who targeted Pearsall and others in the robbery spree. Despite the bullet tearing into his body, Pearsall's condition was stabilized at the hospital, where doctors confirmed no major arteries were hit. His teammates and fans anxiously waited for updates, knowing that a rookie season can vanish in an instant. The shooting rattled the entire Bay Area, already dealing with high-profile crime stories. But in a moment of resilience, Pearsall defied the odds. Within weeks, he was seen back around the team, proving his survival wasn't just luck, it was grit. Josh Reynolds. On August 25, 2024, Broncos wide receiver Josh Reynolds became the target of a terrifying gun attack in Boulder, Colorado. Reports confirmed he was shot in both the head and leg, shocking fans nationwide. Miraculously, Reynolds survived. Doctors said the bullets missed catastrophic damage by millimeters. Police quickly clarified that Reynolds had not been involved in any wrongdoing. Instead, he was a victim of an attack gone horribly wrong, a mistaken identity. Unsealed court documents show that up to 12 conspirators surveilled, pursued, and shot at Reynolds and his friends in the early morning hours of October 18, 2024. Reynolds was shot in the left arm and the back of the head, but he didn't suffer any major injuries. The suspects followed Reynolds and his friends when they left a strip club at 2:45 a.m., and they fired on the friends as they drove toward the highway. The shooting continued on the highway until Reynolds and the two other victims were forced to leave their vehicle because it would no longer drive. According to police, the suspects thought that Reynolds and his friends were the same people that had used fake money to con them in a cocaine deal, but the trio was not involved at all. His resilience in surviving 2 bullet wounds, especially one to the head, became the talk of the league. Many wondered if his NFL career was over, but Reynolds stunned medical professionals with how quickly he stabilized. The Broncos organization rallied around him, while the NFL community took to social media in disbelief at how close the league came to losing another player to gun violence, Tank Dell. The evening of April 28, 2024, turned into chaos for Houston Texans wide receiver Tank Dell. Attending a community event in Sanford, Florida, Dell suddenly found himself trapped in the middle of a mass shooting. More than 10 people were injured, and Dell was among the victims, shot in the leg. Thankfully, his injuries were described as minor, but the fact remained he had been hit by gunfire in a crowd that could have turned deadly. Dell was treated at a local hospital, then flown back to Houston for further evaluation. The Texans, fearing the worst, were relieved when doctors cleared him to recover quickly. What shocked fans even more was Dell's lightning-fast comeback. Just 3 weeks later, he was back at practice, smiling and running routes as if nothing had happened. His ability to shrug off what could have been a career-ending moment turned him into a symbol of toughness. To this day, Dell's escape from that shooting remains one of the NFL's closest brushes with tragedy in recent years. By the way, I'm going to be posting a lot more interesting videos on the channel. I'll greatly appreciate it if you could show support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Thank you. Brian Robinson Jr. On August 28, 2022, Washington Commanders rookie running back Brian Robinson Jr. became the victim of a violent attempted robbery in Washington, D.C. 2 teenage suspects approached him with firearms, demanding valuables. In a split second, shots rang out. Robinson was struck twice, once in the glute and once in the knee. The attack shocked fans who had high hopes for the Alabama standout's debut season. Doctors rushed him into surgery, and the NFL world held its breath. A gunshot to the knee could end a running back's career before it even starts, yet Robinson pulled through, and within days, he was walking again. Head coach Ron Rivera praised his resilience, calling him tougher than nails. Just 6 weeks later, Robinson made his NFL debut on October 9, 2022, against the Tennessee Titans. The crowd roared as he took the field, a bullet wound survivor refusing to let violence define his story. That season, he rushed for nearly 800 yards, a testament to his determination. Cory Ballentine. The night of April 28, 2019, should have been the happiest of Cory Ballentine's life. Drafted in the 6th round by the New York Giants, the Washburn University star was celebrating with his teammates in Topeka, Kansas. But hours later, the celebration turned into bloodshed. Gunmen opened fire, striking Ballentine and killing his close friend and teammate, Dwayne Simmons. Ballentine was shot in the glute, collapsing to the ground as chaos erupted around him. Police later determined the shooting was a random act of violence. Simmons's death cast a long shadow over Ballentine's NFL debut, but his survival was nothing short of miraculous. Despite physical pain and emotional trauma, Ballentine reported to the Giants' rookie minicamp within weeks. The team supported him through his recovery, and he went on to appear in multiple NFL games. Terrelle Pryor. On the night of November 30th, 2019, former NFL wide receiver and quarterback Terrelle Pryor nearly lost his life in Pittsburgh. Police responded to reports of a stabbing at his apartment, where Pryor was found with serious wounds to his chest and shoulder. Investigators later revealed that the attack stemmed from a domestic dispute with his girlfriend, Shalaya Briston. Pryor was rushed into emergency surgery. His condition was listed as critical, and fans feared the worst. A chest wound that close to vital organs often means death, but Pryor defied the odds once again, just as he had done throughout his football career. Pryor received 90 days probation in return for a guilty plea to a harassment charge in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania court. A misdemeanor simple assault charge was dropped. Shalaya Briston, who allegedly stabbed Pryor, received 2 years probation after pleading guilty to simple assault. Briston had faced charges of felony, attempted homicide, and aggravated assault. Though he never returned to NFL action after the incident, Pryor's survival was headline news. His attorneys later stated he was lucky to be alive. The stabbing left scars, both physical and emotional, but also marked a new chapter in his turbulent life. Stedman Bailey. On November 24, 2015, St. Louis Rams wide receiver Stedman Bailey's career and life nearly ended in Miami Gardens, Florida. While sitting in a car with family members, another vehicle pulled alongside and opened fire. Bailey was struck in the head twice and once in the hip. The shocking attack left him bleeding heavily as relatives frantically rushed him to the hospital. Doctors placed Bailey in intensive care, where surgeons fought to save his life. Remarkably, he survived the headshots, which missed fatal brain structures by millimeters. At just 25 years old, the receiver who had once been a rising NFL talent suddenly found himself fighting not for yards, but for survival. Though Bailey's NFL career never fully recovered, his spirit did. In 2017, he rejoined the Rams in a coaching assistant role, inspiring players with his resilience. Chris Johnson. On March 8, 2015, former NFL rushing champion Chris Johnson was in Orlando, Florida, when his car was ambushed in a drive-by shooting. Johnson, riding in a Jeep, was struck in the shoulder as bullets ripped through the vehicle. Tragically, his friend, Drekius Orico Johnson, was killed instantly in the passenger seat. Johnson's wound, though serious, was not life-threatening. Doctors treated him quickly, and within weeks, he was already preparing to return to football. Still, the incident shook the NFL community. The league's 2009 Offensive Player of the Year had barely escaped death. Police later linked the attack to gang activity, though Johnson himself was never charged. He went on to play 2 more NFL seasons, carrying with him the scars of a violent night that could have ended everything. Mike Williams. On March 23, 2014, Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Williams found himself fighting for his life after being stabbed in the thigh inside his own Tampa home. Authorities later arrested his brother, Eric Baylor, in connection with the attack. Williams lost a significant amount of blood, but paramedics stabilized him before rushing him to St. Joseph's Hospital. While the stab wound narrowly missed major arteries, it raised serious concerns about his future on the field. Despite the trauma, Williams recovered and returned to the NFL briefly with the Buffalo Bills. But the stabbing marked the beginning of the end for his career. Aldon Smith. On the night of June 29, 2012, a wild house party near San Jose turned into a nightmare for San Francisco 49ers star linebacker Aldon Smith. More than 100 people had gathered at his residence when chaos erupted. At least 2 men opened fire, spraying bullets through the crowd. Smith, trying to escape, was caught in the crossfire and suffered stab wounds while attempting to break up a fight. Witnesses recalled the panic as dozens fled the scene. Police later confirmed that multiple people were shot and 2 partygoers were left with serious injuries. Smith's own injuries required hospitalization, but thankfully the wounds were not life-threatening. The timing was alarming, just weeks before the 2012 season, when Smith was coming off a historic 14-sack rookie campaign. The linebacker was stitched up and back on the field that fall, continuing to dominate offenses. But the incident highlighted the dark side of NFL stardom, when success attracts unwanted attention. Smith's survival, despite stab wounds and a hail of violence, allowed him to return and post 19.5 sacks that same season. Brandon Marshall. On April 22, 2011, Miami Dolphins wide receiver Brandon Marshall was rushed to Broward General Hospital after being stabbed in the abdomen during a domestic altercation. His wife, Michi Nogami Marshall, was arrested on charges of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. Marshall's injury was serious. The knife narrowly missed vital organs. Doctors operated immediately, saving his life. Police reports revealed that Marshall had arrived at the hospital in critical condition, bleeding heavily. The Dolphins organization and NFL community braced for devastating news, fearing the star wideout would not survive. But Marshall proved unshakable. Within months, he not only recovered, but posted back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Though the charges against his wife were later dropped, the stabbing became a turning point in his personal life. Kassim Osgood. On September 27, 2010, Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Kassim Osgood experienced terror inside a suburban Florida home. He was visiting his 19-year-old girlfriend when her armed ex-boyfriend broke in. Masked and wielding a gun, the intruder pistol-whipped Osgood and threatened to kill him. The situation escalated as shots were fired inside the house. Osgood managed to leap from a second-story window, crashing onto the lawn to escape the attack. His girlfriend also fought back, managing to retrieve a pistol and fire at her ex-boyfriend, forcing him to flee. Police later arrested the assailant, 20-year-old Julian Armand Bartley, who was charged with armed burglary, aggravated battery, and more. Osgood was left shaken but alive, telling reporters that the harrowing escape was like something out of a movie. His survival, jumping from a balcony under gunfire, remains one of the most dramatic near-death experiences in NFL history. Richard Collier. On September 2, 2008, Jaguars offensive tackle Richard Collier's life changed forever. After a night out with friends in Jacksonville, he sat in a parked Cadillac Escalade waiting for a teammate when a gunman ambushed him. In a hail of at least 14 bullets, Collier was struck multiple times in the abdomen, leg, and spine. The shooting left him clinging to life. Doctors rushed him into emergency surgery, where he endured 14 operations, including the eventual amputation of his left leg below the knee. He was paralyzed from the waist down. Investigators later identified the shooter as Tyrone Hartsfield, who was convicted of attempted murder and sentenced to life in prison, a sentence which was later reduced to 27 years. Though Collier's NFL career ended instantly, his story became one of resilience. In 2009, he was wheeled into Jaguars training camp to deliver a motivational speech, greeted by standing ovations. He later became an ordained minister, channeling his survival into inspiration for others. Steve Foley. On the morning of September 3, 2006, San Diego Chargers linebacker Steve Foley nearly lost his life outside his home in Poway, California. An off-duty police officer followed him on suspicion of drunk driving. What followed spiraled into a confrontation where the officer fired his weapon, striking Foley 3 times, once in the chest, once in the leg, and once in the hip. The bullets tore through muscle and bone, forcing Foley into multiple surgeries. His 10-year NFL career ended that day, just as the Chargers were preparing for a Super Bowl run. Teammates described their shock at learning their Pro Bowl linebacker had been gunned down not by a criminal, but by law enforcement. The officer, Aaron Mansker, was cleared of wrongdoing, but controversy swirled around the incident. Some argued excessive force was used, while others pointed to Foley's blood alcohol level as a factor. Regardless, Foley's survival was remarkable, though it came at the cost of his career. Keith Davis. The Dallas Cowboys safety survived not once, but twice. His first brush with death came in 2003 when he was shot outside a Dallas strip club. Though wounded, he returned to play. But on July 16, 2006, fate struck again. While driving on a Dallas freeway, Davis was ambushed. Gunmen opened fire, hitting him in the head and thigh. Somehow, Davis managed to survive both attacks. Police confirmed he was the intended target of the freeway shooting, though no arrests were made. He was rushed to Baylor University Medical Center, where surgeons once again worked to save his life. Remarkably, Davis returned to training camp within weeks. His resilience earned him praise across the league, but the incidents highlighted how NFL players could face dangers off the field as severe as any hit on the gridiron. Twice, Davis stared down death, and twice, he walked away. Terrence Kiel. On the night of September 26, 2003, San Diego Chargers safety Terrence Kiel was ambushed during an attempted carjacking in his hometown of Houston, Texas. As he was getting into his Cadillac Escalade outside a friend's home, armed men approached. Shots rang out in the struggle, and Kiel was struck in the ankle. The bullet left him bleeding and in agony, but he managed to survive thanks to immediate medical attention. Police later confirmed the suspects were attempting to rob him of his vehicle, turning what should have been a routine night into a fight for his life. Despite the trauma, Kiel returned to the Chargers later that season. His quick comeback amazed teammates who remembered how close the incident came to ending his career, or worse, his life. Sadly, just a few years later, Kiel would die in a 2008 car crash, making the 2003 shooting one of multiple brushes with tragedy in his short life. Joey Porter. On September 1, 2003, Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker Joey Porter was shot outside a Denver bar while celebrating Labor Day weekend. An altercation had broken out nearby, and as shots erupted, Porter was hit in the left buttock by a stray bullet. Porter collapsed as chaos spread through the crowd. He was rushed to a hospital, where doctors confirmed the bullet had narrowly missed vital organs. Had it traveled a few inches higher, the linebacker's life could have ended instantly. Though Porter missed the start of the 2003 season, he returned to the Steelers later that year and went on to lead the defense with his trademark intensity. The shooting became a turning point in his life, and he later admitted it changed how he carried himself off the field. Jerome McDougle. On July 28, 2005, Philadelphia Eagles defensive end Jerome McDougle was at his Miami home when armed robbers stormed in. The assailants opened fire, hitting McDougle in the abdomen as they tried to steal jewelry and valuables. The bullet punctured his stomach, leaving him in critical condition. Rushed into surgery, McDougall's life hung in the balance. Doctors later reported he was lucky to survive as the shot came dangerously close to major organs. Though he recovered, the shooting derailed his NFL career. He missed the entire 2005 season while rehabilitating and never regained his early promise as a first-round pick. Still, his survival, escaping death in a violent home invasion, made headlines nationwide. Travis Rudolph. On the night of April 7, 2021, former New York Giants wide receiver Travis Rudolph's home in Lake Park, Florida, turned into the site of a violent confrontation. 4 men arrived after a dispute involving Rudolph's girlfriend escalated. The men confronted him outside his house, one armed with a firearm. Rudolph, fearing for his life, retrieved his own gun. Gunfire erupted. When it was over, 1 man was dead and another was wounded. Rudolph himself was not physically injured, but the attempt on his life was undeniable. 4 men had shown up to attack him, and the encounter could have ended with him dead. The former Giants receiver was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and attempted murder. He spent 2 years fighting for his freedom until, in June 2023, a Florida jury acquitted him on all charges. The jury accepted his defense, that he acted in self-defense, standing his ground against men who came to harm him. Today, Rudolph's NFL dreams are gone, but his survival story is one of the most dramatic in league history. He walked away from a shootout where the odds, and the law, were stacked against him. Barrett Robbins. On January 15, 2005, former Oakland Raiders Pro Bowl center Barrett Robbins was involved in a violent altercation with Miami Beach police. Robbins, who had battled mental health issues throughout his career, was confronted by officers after reports of a disturbance. According to police, Robbins resisted arrest and became aggressive. Officers opened fire, shooting him 3 times, once in the chest and twice in the torso. He was rushed to Jackson Memorial Hospital in critical condition. Miraculously, Robbins survived despite losing massive amounts of blood. The shooting was just the latest in a series of troubles for Robbins, who had missed the Raiders' Super Bowl 37 in 2003 after a well-documented breakdown. While he recovered from his wounds, his NFL career was long over, replaced by a cycle of legal and personal struggles. Still, his survival that night was remarkable. Few expected him to live through 3 bullets to the chest and abdomen, yet he did. If you enjoyed this video, I'm going to be posting a lot more interesting videos on the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Thank you very much.